Some people like rap artists. Some people like their favorite rap artist so much that they will spend countless hours of their lives defending them on the internet to strangers, metaphorically polishing their knob on the public square for all to see, all without the artist even knowing that they exist. Today, we're going to be ranking which rap artist has the most Meatriders in their fan base using a tournament bracket. This is the first part of our 5-part series where we'll be covering every genre of music followed by a championship winners bracket to determine which artist's fan base in all of music has the biggest Meatriders of all time. So I have our 16 rap finalists right here, and the matchups are organized from least corny to most corny, from top to bottom.
All right, starting off with Kanye versus Travis Scott. Now, to be a Kanye fan, you must have stuck with him through like a lot of thick and thin times. You know, there's been controversial times with Kanye. There's been really celebratory times with Kanye when he releases a new, piece of art. And, he's a very accessible artist to meet ride. It's not that you could just meet ride his music, but you can also like meet ride his whole universe, basically.
His whole like visionary Steve Jobs type thing that provides a lot of material for which one could meet ride upon.
I can't hate on him because, he lives up to that. He releases the shoes, he releases the fashion, he goes out of his way to do like, he just did like a Yeezy like food thing. Travis Scott, it's an interesting situation. I think especially after what happened with him recently, it's interesting because, people still hold that love for him that they were giving to him during Astroworld times, just thinking about the
pre-Astroworld technically.
Think about it in terms of when everybody was wearing the Astroworld hoodies and the t-shirts. I mean, like those, they were infectious. I mean, you could see like every college frat boy wearing like a hoodie or a shirt with that.
Astroworld hoodie with the Yeezy slides.
Yes. Now, when it comes to who has the bigger Meatriders, it's going to be interesting to see how people react and meet ride to Travis Scott post Utopia when that comes out. If we're talking about right here, right now, Kanye versus Travis Scott, overall, I would say Kanye has the bigger Meatriders.
Okay, so here's my take on this. Both fans of these artists will defend their artists for having done pretty bad things and newsworthy things. At the very least, with Kanye fans, they have the excuse of, I don't like what he's saying, what he's doing, but he made Graduation. Versus, if you look at the Travis Scott fans that stuck through the whole Astroworld thing, they will defend him and his music knowing full well that dude did not care with like what happened. Like, yeah. I mean, everyone remembers like when the apology came out and he was like, and they're like, we don't really care. Like we really just like his music and we want to continue to like to meet ride this dude. And Kanye fans, they're like, they put their gloves on. They're grabbing Graduation, the vinyl with those rubber like grabber claws because they don't want to get like close, but they still want to put it into like their vinyl collection. I feel like that type of fan, they are in love with them as a person. So I'm actually convincing myself into it being Kanye at this point. For someone to be like, oh, like he's messed up, I don't give a shit. In a sort of way, that means that they care about the artist less versus the Kanye. Do you see where I'm coming from?
I see exactly where you're coming from. I would choose Kanye. Yeah. I think Kanye has the bigger Meatriders compared to Travis Scott.
Kanye wins. And also, by the way, this video is sponsored by us, our merch, which you can get at neopunkfm.com, neopunkfm.com. We have a few new designs. They're really cool, and you should check them out. It's the best way to support the channel because a lot of our videos get demonetized. We're able to keep creating meat-based content thanks to viewers like you, so thank you for your support.
We have SoFaygo versus Lucky.
Now, the first thing I want to say is, people that are SoFaygo fans, they're still at least aware of the fact that he has fallen off. So they at least have the common decency to meet ride him in the privacy of their own bedroom behind closed doors and not, flaunt it to the world or anything, due to their shame. But Lucky fans are pretty loud about it still. And they also seem to double down on the whole, like, lean gut thing.
I don't think they'll ever let go of the lean gut thing, even when he loses it or if he ever stops drinking lean.
I think that they would be sad if he got rid of it. I think if he did better as a person and ended up getting rid of the lean gut, got clean, stopped sipping drink,
his music wouldn't be as sad, therefore, they wouldn't be as attached.
And so that would actually piss off his fan base, like if he got clean, I think.
It's an interesting case with SoFaygo. There's a lot of revisionism going on with him right now.
A sort of mini Whole Lotta Red effect, but with his whole career.
Yeah, because now people are going back, post this new album, are saying, I actually like Pink Hearts, like I liked what he was doing. I don't know why it was getting so much hate. Many of whom I'm assuming were probably haters of Pink Hearts. afterwards. It's like now that he's got, some of his fame back, some of the attention back on him, it's like he's hot again.
And, I think that that's something that's pretty par for the course and kind of normal for an artist, especially one that's gone in his direction. And when I say normal, I mean not unhinged or, in crazy meat riding. And so I'm going to go with Lucky on this one.
Yeah, the fact that, like, he's just so hot right now.
He's just, like, so fat right now.
He's so hot and fat right now.
Yeah.
Lucky has the bigger meat riders compared to Sofega. A$AP Rocky versus Yeat. We're dealing with two different kind of rap fans here. A$AP Rocky, I think of an older kind of strain of rap fans,
like sativa strain. That's a bit more of like a head high.
Honestly, if I was to compare A$AP and Yeat to two different kinds of strains, A$AP would definitely be the indica.
Okay.
Yeat being the kind of more unhinged sativa that you smoke a little too much, you're gonna go a little too crazy.
I gotcha.
When it comes to A$AP Rocky, no question that he's completely fallen off. People care more about him for what he's doing with Tyler
and who he's like impregnating.
Now with Yeat, we're dealing with a really ferocious group of rap fans. We're dealing with these like rage kids. We're dealing with kids who just want to go crazy.
What I've noticed going to these shows is when you ask a Yeat fan, why is Yeat good? They enter this sort of like stream of consciousness, which I imagine is similar to what happens to Yeat when he takes a yerky and he starts like freestyling, where they can no longer reason, they're no longer capable of a coherent thought, and they just go into like, their eyes glaze over and they're like, oh, Yeat different, bro. Yeat different. Yeat's just different. You like he just sounds different. And
he's the new generation.
Yeah, he's the new generation. Beats hard, tonka. Versus A$AP has always been meat ridden to an equivalent degree to his cultural impact, like from the start. Yeah, so we're gonna go with Yeat. Yeat has bigger meat riders than A$AP Rocky. BLP Kosher versus Joey. Now this one is interesting because both of these guys are like the poster children of the TikTok underground right now, right? There's quite a bit of overlap here when it comes to the fan bases. BLP still has like a lot of frat guy crossover due to his much more mainstream, friendly, like kind of Florida sound and flow. He's still a bit too new to have like a dedicated base of like seasoned meat jockeys.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Joey has been boiling up to the surface of the underground for like a hot minute now. He's had the chance to siphon from the like American Drain Gang audience for a while now. So I'm gonna have to go with Joey on this one.
With Joey, yeah, like you said, the boiling up was definitely something that was very worthwhile for him. It was something that definitely garnered him like a lot of fans throughout time, people who like got the chance to like really understand the image and like how it's changed over time, and how it kind of evolved to where it is now. As opposed to BLP Kosher, the hairstyle and like the Judaism and the kind of, Florida rap style, it hasn't had as much time to cultivate over time as with Joey.
It's simply a time issue. I mean, if we were to fast forward like a year from now, 2 years from now, things could be totally different. But in this current time, in this current place, Joey has bigger meat riders than BLP Kosher.
Definitely the clear winner, Joey. You have bigger meat riders compared to BLP Kosher.
I feel like that's a theme that we're going to see throughout this bracket series, where we're going to be dealing with like high quality, low quantity meat riders versus the inverse.
Yeah.
For example, I mean right here, Suicide Boys versus Death Grips / JPEG Mafia. Suicide Boys are big. They're really big. Their tours are like mini traveling festivals, almost like Warped Tour at this point. And they sell out amphitheaters. And this year they're selling out an arena. They're selling out the State Farm Arena here in Atlanta. And because of that, they're going to have just a massive amount of meat riders, sheer quantity issue of meat riders. But Death Grips, on the other hand, they're a cult classic. They have a notoriously schizo fan base, unhinged meat riding fan base. So again, we're looking at like a question of quality versus quantity. Yes, like there is like a smaller sheer amount of Death Grips meat riders just due to like the audience size difference. However, I don't want to detract from the fact that there are plenty of like schizo, totally unhinged Suicide Boys fans and meat riders as well. What are your thoughts on this?
With Suicide Boys, the first thing that my mind goes to is the kind of guy who puts anime stickers on his car, who mods his car, just dumps a ton of money into his car.
It's like 98 Miata.
Yeah, who's definitely traveled to the back of Spencer's to purchase like a sex toy for his girlfriend.
Right. And the sex toy is also probably going to have a pot leaf on it somewhere as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, pseudo-intellectual, like rolls up Mexican brickweed joints on a like Pickle Rick rolling tray, type of guy. I'm sure you get what I'm going for here.
When it comes to Death Grips versus Suicide Boys, I think the average Death Grips fan still meat rides them harder than Suicide Boys because, it's like they almost have like something they want to prove with their meat riding. It's part of the culture as a Death Grips fan to say like, I really, like I meat ride it and I'm cringe about it. Like it's like a handshake, like a verbal handshake with other Death Grips fans. So to compare the two, in that situation, I think Death Grips is going to have the bigger meat riders compared to Suicide Boys.
Well, I'm thinking here about the differences between the two psychotic versions, the most psychotic versions of each of these fan bases. And I'm picturing a bell curve in my head. The psychotic Death Grips meat rider, they're like a really high IQ schizophrenic that like invents a new language and has like 500 pages of geometric DMT doodles like hung up on their wall, versus Suicide Boys psychotic meat riders. They're definitely lower IQ on that left side of the bell curve. And I think because of that, because they can only have 2, maybe 3 thoughts in their head at one point in time, that's the only thing they have. So their meat riding is going to be more intense. Suicide Boys, they're not rare. They're not like inaccessible in the same way that Death Grips is. And I think because of that, their meat riders have a lot more to feed off of. And that adds to like sort of like meat riding, like feeding frenzy. So a Suicide Boys fan, they are rewarded for being a meat rider more. Therefore, that behavior will constantly and always be encouraged.
Fair. I think then, we could choose Suicide Boys.
Okay.
Suicide Boys, your fans are bigger meat riders than Death Grips.
Yeah. Cemetery and Blade. Now, this matchup is a lot like yin and yang. Chaotic evil versus chaotic good. Both of the fan bases being chaotic because both these fan bases will dox you over things that you say on the internet. But Cemetery fans, they will also do that to Cemetery and Haunted Mound themselves. It's kind of like how Weezer fans have this sort of joking self-hatred they have about themselves, where they're like, haha, yeah, I'm a Weezer fan, we suck, haha. But with Cemetery fans, they do that, but they're serious, and they really do like have a love-hate, bizarre, kind of schizo relationship with Sim,
The Drain meat riding has definitely settled a little bit.
Yeah.
Based off of my observations, which is just like a small window. And the Cemetery meat riding is nowhere near over. There's so much more.
It's only going to get worse.
No, it's only going to get worse.
Because he's just now getting put on like festival lineups. He's touring with Suicide Boys now. He's going to be on this coming, Suicide Boys tour. So that's really going to open up like the meat riding like floodgates, so to speak.
And Blade never had that like core that was like against him and that caused drama with him, just like Cemetery.
Yeah.
Pitting the two against each other, I think Cemetery has the bigger meat riders compared to Blade.
Yeah, because it's almost like a sort of anti-meat riding. Like, due to the fact that they hate him, but being that invested in another human being is still meat riding nonetheless.
No, meat riding is meat riding at the end of the day, and Cemetery, your fans are bigger meat riders than Blade. Okay, Lil Uzi versus Cardi/Opium.
Opium used to be this thing that was considered to be like really cool, it was kind of rare, but as it grew, it ended up being almost like sort of like a parody of itself, right? And now there's like a million teen boys out there, and they all wear fake Rick and Balenci, and they make all the same jokes on social media. Oh, bro's trying to be Cardi. Bro's trying to be Opium. Bro's trying to be Destroy Lonely. Bro's the Cardi commissioner. And it's gotten so bad that once those jokes got burnt, the same kids that were being made fun of in those jokes ran with them, co-opted them, and now we hit this new like post-ironic level of making those types of jokes, where in the comments section of any TikTok, it's like, haha, oh, this is so Destroy Lonely, Opium. I don't even know really what we're doing here anymore, man. It's literally all they think about. Like, when it comes to being an Opium fan, Opium is truly all they think about. It's one thing in their head. I mean, I don't even have anything to say about Uzi. I mean, he raps.
Now, a lot of people are definitely experiencing post-Pink Tape afterglow, the afterglow where it's like, oh man, I remember when it was so good when Uzi used to release back in the day.
Summer 2016. I'm gonna go watch the EXO Tour Life full recorded studio session on YouTube right now. It's 53 minutes
with my
long.
clout goggles, like with like my Supreme, snowboarding goggles.
Snowboarding goggles.
Cardi/Opium, clear winner here compared to Uzi.
I really try to keep it, fair with these matchups, but this is one of the more mismatched ones out of the series, unfortunately. Hey, they had to go somewhere. So Opium, bigger meat riders than Uzi, obviously.
J. Cole versus Joyner Lucas?
At this point, meat riding conscious rappers or any sort of like spiritual, lyrical, swimming pool, individual rap, is an Olympic sport, which is why I matched these two together. But which fan base, does it better? Well, Lucas, he has the one song that has the music video and it went viral and it made a statement. And I remember seeing all the conscious rap fans talk about it. It feels like the same J. Cole fans have been at it for like a decade at this point. Ever since like Forest Hills Drive.
People will never stop meat riding Forest Hills Drive.
Yeah.
People will never stop meat riding J. Cole.
Dude, J. Cole got a 4.0 in high school. He's like wicked smart.
Yeah, no, and there's definitely overlap between J. Cole meat riders and Joyner Lucas meat riders. However, just with J. Cole's like sheer popularity in the culture, his consciousness doesn't just stop at his rap. It extends to the way he holds himself. Mm-hmm. The little like Twitter post where you'll see J. Cole hasn't upgraded his iPhone since iPhone 4. He's so humble. Yeah. He's just like us.
No, yeah, J. Cole's so humble. He like dresses like shit. His hair looks like shit. Doesn't take care of himself. Man, is that guy humble.
And while Joyner Lucas definitely has like some dedicated meat riders to him, I mean, he with any artist, you're going to have meat riders. Comparing the J. Cole, who is like the conscious rap, pinnacle, just under Kendrick, just under Kendrick. So
no, he is like the archetypal plutonic conscious rapper. I've not had a lot of Joyner Lucas fans, meat riders, try to like shove his music down my throat.
J. Cole meat riders will always be like, you got to hear the song, just listen, bro.
And it will always be at like the most inappropriate times, like when we're not trying to hear conscious rap. Bro, I'm not trying to hear Wet Dreams in the car on the way to the function on a Friday night. I'm not letting you get near my Bluetooth, I'm not letting you get connected. I'm not adding you. You're staying out of the Corolla. I'm sorry.
No, if we're at the college party on a Friday night, Saturday night, and we're trying to watch some YTPs in the crib getting drunk, I don't want to hear this one J. Cole song where he talks about his experience growing up and being touched by his aunt.
Right.
J. Cole, your fans are bigger meat riders than Joyner Lucas's fans. It's that simple. Second round of this. We're starting off with Kanye versus Lucky. What do you have to say about this?
Kanye.
Yeet versus Joey. Again, we've established already Joey. Look, he has a small but dedicated fan base. Only seems to be going up for him. Definitely no signs of stopping. Compared to Yeet, however, Yeet has these very, very intense rage fans. They meat ride him blindly. Despite whether his new releases are as crazy as the ones they've fallen in love with, they still love meat riding him because it goes beyond meat riding just the music and the ad-libs and the funny sounds. It goes into meat riding his look, the way he looks. There's been similar comments about, from Lucky with his lean gut to Yeet looking a little chunky. Only loving to eat steak and Sour Patch Kids and lean.
Right. We are dealing with people that are in the same weight class.
Yes.
Literally as well. Just from like different time horizons. Now, I'm not saying Joey's going to be as big as Yeet. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, really. If you play this out 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, I definitely see meat riding growth that's going to cover a very similar trajectory, so to speak.
And I'll give you props. I mean, it is pretty damn close. Look at any of the memes people have made about Joey.
Yeah.
Not too far off from the stuff they made about Yeet.
Joey's meat riding is getting a bit more cerebral at this point, where it's not just ad-libs, Tonka, like it is for Yeet. You're getting the stuff where it's like the ironic, like, grind hustle memes with Joey, where it's like edited in the way he always edits them. Movie. I'm feeling Joey on this one just due to the intricacy of the meat riding.
Joey's just playing a 4D chess with his meat riders, right?
Joey.
Comparing Suicide Boys meat riders versus Cemetery meat riders, we've addressed the Cemetery meat riders have this crazy love-hate, toxic relationship with him, and the fans themselves, they get very toxic. Suicide Boys, we've looked and kind of picked apart the smoker, stoner, Miata driving, car modding, hentai watching, Zoomies and Spencer's shopping.
And also, these guys are on tour with one another right now.
Exactly.
It's almost like a little match made in meat riding heaven.
Exactly. I just gotta say, it'll be really fascinating to see the kind of meat riding when we have Cemetery fans and Suicide Boys fans together. I'm already imagining like some of the Cemetery fans trying to hit on the Suicide Boys female fans. We've seen Suicide Boys female fans already. This is not the highest pedigree of female you could be dealing with.
I agree.
However, imagining the failed Riz attempt from the male Cemetery fan to the female Suicide Boys fan, I mean, to be honest, they're probably going to have a hard time like just getting up to walk up to her, let alone say like a few words. Right. If we're talking about meat riding, I am more intrigued with the mentally ill meat riding that goes on with the Cemetery fans versus
precisely.
Suicide Boys fans. And I think Cemetery fans, compared to the Suicide Boys fans, you're going to have bigger meat riders than Cemetery fans.
Yeah, Cemetery wins.
When it comes to Cardi/Opium fans versus J. Cole, picking apart Cardi and Opium, it's not just Cardi. We have Ken meat riders, and especially we have lone meat riders. Now, yes, their meat riding is really hyped by they're just a hot new thing right now. There's a look associated. There's a cool, it's mixed in with, the 2014 kind of Tumblr nostalgia.
There's all these, built-in, meat riding attachments. It's kind of like how in The Sims, a style that you can decorate the house where it covers the paint, the furniture, the flooring. Opium has that, and J. Cole just doesn't have that. If you're a meat rider and you want to dive headfirst into meat riding for Opium, you've got 101 ways to do it. With J. Cole, you steal ox at a party and you kind of piss some people off.
You can imagine an Opium SpongeBob character. So Cardi and Opium, compared to J. Cole, you have bigger meat riders. Okay, interesting little setup we have here. We got Kanye versus Joey.
Once again, we're getting to that point where we are dealing with, okay, are we looking at quantity or are we looking at quality? And I think for the sake of the rest of this video, as well as the rest of our series, establishing like an average meat riding per capita, taking what the average meat rider looks like and then dissecting the behavior of that average meat rider.
Yeah.
How psychotic is that meat rider? How hard do they meat ride? In what ways do they use their five senses to meat ride, etc.?
We're talking about if you had five of the biggest meat riders in a room versus each other,
Yeah, precisely.
The top percentile of Kanye meat riders versus Joey meat riders. Like we've said, Kanye has a huge, huge legacy. For sure, Joey is definitely a fan of Kanye.
Yes.
He's your rapper's favorite rapper. There is so much ammunition for the Kanye meat rider versus the Joey meat rider. Looking at the top percentile of meat riders between the two, it's hard. Kanye meat riders are really ride or die. No pun intended. Joey meat riders,
Any way the wind blows.
Kanye probably wins.
In this exact point in time, what we're looking at, there's something that Joey has in his favor that Kanye does not. What he has is that immediate underground relevancy. There's a trend with Zoomers, and I'm assuming it's always been like this. It's just that Zoomers happen to be like the new generation right now, where they almost get off on and appreciate and celebrating the destruction of older people. I feel like Joey kind of has that in his favor right now, where it's almost a meme to be like, oh dude, Joey's better than all the previous rappers. Anyone who by any other standards measured to be legendary, it becomes fun to cast stones at that. So I feel like I'm leaning towards Joey on this.
You're right. You make a very strong point. Whenever you have a new hot rapper like this, you're always going to have the fans that go crazy, that go feral. You could make a great argument going either way. But when I think of meat riders, the first thing that comes to mind in my head, even if I just have a vague image of a meat rider, Joey's not too far off. Joey's fans are not too far off. So I'll give you that. I think let's say Joey.
I'm going to go with Joey on this one. Now, Cemetery versus Opium, who's the biggest meat riding fan base. We are dealing with two sides of the same coin when it comes to being having a dark, cryptid, mysterious sort of aesthetic here. One that's highly ironic, and one that for a lot of people is ironic, but for other people is dead serious.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shared commonalities, I guess you could say, between these two. We have the kind of smoking cigarettes that's between Opium and Cemetery. Yeah. You have the kind of weird actions towards women. Now with Cardi, he could keep teasing his fans for the next 3 years and they'd still be like, it's coming next month, guys. It's coming next month. It's coming soon.
He could beat up another 3 pregnant women and they'd still be meat riding him. And each time he got arrested, they would make the newest mugshot their profile picture on Twitter.
Yeah. It's hard though, because what were we saying about indifference before, though? Okay, with Travis Scott, they felt indifferent about the kind of crazy things he's done. You could definitely say that about Cardi fans. If they don't feel indifferent, that maybe, it just feeds into his evil character. We can forgive anybody. Yeah, narcissist. Yeah, whatever.
There's something about Opium, the lengths that they go to cope is really insane. I saw this post saying that, guys, Cardi's going to drop in about 9 months because because Uzi just dropped, and like anytime that Uzi drops, like Cardi drops about 9 months after. What if like Cardi being an asshole to Nardwuar and rejecting the interview is just like a really complicated like rollout for Narcissist because he's like playing up like being an asshole and like getting arrested for like hitting women, and so it's gonna come out December 25th, 2023, Narcissist.
Yeah.
And I don't think a Sim fan has had the opportunity to do that so far. I think they're capable of it. For the sake of this bracket, we're talking about the here and the now right now. His Meatriders haven't done that yet.
With the combined power between Cardi and all the members of Opium, Opium takes the win.
Opium, bigger Meatriders than Sim.
See, now we're getting somewhere interesting because now we're dealing with Joey Meatriders.
Purely ironic.
Internet.
99% ironic.
Yeah. Versus Cardi Opium Meatriders who will meatride him to death. As much as I'd like to make an argument for Joey with him being new and fierce, like we're talking about the right here, right now, he's just not had enough time to culminate as much meat riding as the Cardi and Opium fandom has. I think, like we established earlier, with the sheer power and cultural, the ability he has to change the culture to just by himself and the power of his fans, the win has to go to Cardi and Opium for the biggest rap Meatriders, I believe.
Opium is just a force of nature right now in terms of meat riding ability. They've just steamrolled the competition every step of the way. Good luck to them in the finals. Playboy Cardi / Opium Meatriders are the biggest Meatriders in all of rap. We've just confirmed it. Stay tuned for the championship bracket, which they will be included in.